Hi friends, this is Tracy Brown, and my team and I of non-diet dietitians provide trauma-informed nutrition counseling so that you can feel safer in your skin. And honestly, this video is going to be, I'm not sure how long it's going to be, but I wanted just to open the conversation in a really curious, supportive way around, people want to have health. I get it. I want to have it. Almost everybody I know probably wants to have it. But in our culture, just as we've all been pretty much mind control programmed for generations that there's only one right way to have a body, we've also been, through our systems of the world here, been made to believe there's only a certain way that you can not only try to support or manage or treat something health-wise. We've kind of been taught in a very, very similar vein and fashion. I imagined it yesterday when I was thinking about this topic, actually a couple of days ago. It's kind of like that, it's like an octopus. It's like the head of it is like just control and fear. And you got all these tentacles, so we've got the how to do fitness right tentacle, and how to do food right tentacle, and how to have a body right tentacle. We got the, if you happen to have something, whether it's headache or diabetes, there's a right way to do it. And if you're not doing it right, something's wrong with you. And so I want to help us maybe dismantle some of that today. So I think the first thing I'll do is just do some language here, is that what we're trying to do is unglue this idea that we can perform our way out of health, like a health condition we don't like. Now, that's not the same thing as, I'm not saying that we don't put effort into things or intentionality, we do. But when we're coming from the mindset or the, I'll just use mindset, but it could be paradigm as well, whatever words you want to use. If we're coming from a mindset or a paradigm of control and anxiety, we're more likely to we're basically likely to go faster than we're capable of going. That we might not inside be in a full agreement and alignment with maybe what it means to make those health changes, or if there's some value judgments around making health changes. If you think that means something about you to need to do that. I mean, honestly, every sentence, if I were to challenge you, how are you managing your insulin resistance? And I'll just let you talk. And if you wrote down all the things you said about how it should be or what you think it should be, and if you don't do it, what that means about you, and if you do it, what that means about you, if you're pretty grounded in like long-term, big picture, knowing you're going to have to like experiment a good long while, that your body's not going to be the same every day, that there's all kinds of reasons why your blood glucose might be up or down, and it's not all just based on what you just ate. If you can't repeat that to me and be pretty like, I know it's a long-term thing and we'll figure it out. And I know at the end of the day that if I don't ever fully get this where I want to go, I'm still okay. If you're not there, then there's probably some health anxiety stuff in there that we got to work on, some beliefs. So that's okay. It's common for everybody because we've all been scared for our own good, whether in childhood or with our exposures to any kind of health, medical person, coaching, whatever, because that's what all those systems they do. They're really kind of based in fear and control and fix this and all that. Versus, intentionality. We're going to put that in there, but honestly, how we go about it really matters. Because I'd rather you have a fairly stable response to what's going on, meaning like big picture, let's think it through, versus reactionary. Because why would I want you to pump up your cortisol, adrenaline, and norepinephrine to try to fix the problem? That's not congruent, right? So anyway, we have to kind of work on dismantling the beliefs that kind of got us into this maybe all or nothing thinking or fear-based thinking anyway. Okay, so nothing wrong with wanting to improve your health and have a desire for that. It's just that there's there's probably a reason why it hasn't happened yet. And it's not because you're not trying. It's just because there's probably just too much activation. We're going faster than the slowest parts can go. All right. And then we also had to dismantle how to do it. I mean, some people still believe that the only way to fix any problem is to lose weight. It'll fix everything. And for some people, there might be a small percentage of that being true, but we overemphasize weight loss and underemphasize everything else. So I have a immune health stress related class I'm going to be teaching in a couple weeks that people can get access to. And I talk all about this, from an immune health perspective, but I think it goes for all our body systems, is that if we're not looking at all the factors, our quality of our relationships and all the things, right? So sleep and physical, mental, emotional, spiritual well-being, our environment we live in, if we're not taking into account all those things and we're overemphasizing our weight and we're ignoring everything else, we're trying to lose weight like crazy, but we're also overworking, undersleeping, probably drinking too much caffeine, dissociating, in fight or flight all the time, but we're trying to lose weight. Or the probability probably of any long-term health benefits is going to be probably none to zero, or little to zero. But you put all that effort into under eating and all that. So, why do we get tripped up by these things, right? Well, I think one of the things that, as a person who's had healthcare training, a lot, more than I need probably, is that people have a passion. How do we get tripped up with these things? Well, people have a passion and even a love for people. That if it's not tempered with meeting the person who they are and where they're at, that passion and love can turn into what feels like to the client or the patient frustration. And then it can turn into what was once like maybe a well-intentioned thing actually get turned into a lot of pressure, which scares everybody, right? So I think that's kind of the basis for a lot of where our experiences with trying to improve our health come from. Very urgency-based things. And don't get me wrong, sometimes things are urgent. When my daughter broke her arm, a while back, it's like it was urgent for me to get to urgent care and get that taken care of. But, a lactose intolerance issue that maybe one of us in our household has or doesn't have, whatever, I'm just giving you something like that. It's not urgent that I fix this hot second, right? And then there's a gradient in between all that, right? And that what most of us are working through. So I don't know if that helps anybody watching or listening to this. I'm just really trying to speak to why do we get so triggered? Why do we try to make things go faster than it has to go, versus look at all the pieces and parts of this and then eventually stack it all together, right? The other thing I think we get tripped up on, honestly, is, again, a part of that octopus thing I was just telling you about, the tentacle of, being scared into improving our health for our own good. And I get curious about that, is like, well, if our health isn't our identity, it isn't our worth or isn't our value. And if something is not like the house is burning down, urgent, I have to make all these life changes right this second and keep it to get results, then what's the purpose? What's the function? And a lot of us have this underlying stuff around, we've heard this maybe since childhood, or again, learned it in the systems, is that you are a better person if you're always, I guess, in good health. And to be honest, I don't actually even know how that's possible. Some people manage to pull that off probably in their lifetime. I don't think that's the majority of people who don't go through stuff. And then people judge other people for having a health condition, regardless if it's what percentage of our own behaviors attribute to that. Does it really do anybody any good to make them feel bad, then therefore motivate them to do something different? So that logic never jives with me, right? It doesn't ever match. So something for you to think about as well. So if we can't probably white knuckle forever, you can white knuckle a little while health behavior change. We want to be curious, is that the way we do a lot of things in our life? Is it I try to again, go faster, override maybe the reasons why I got here in the first place and keep pretending like that's not happening, and then just add more things on top of it. If that's a pattern, that's something to look at as well. Going back to the identity piece, I didn't mention it, but and I say this to my clients, is like, I feel like it's really dangerous to stake your self-concept on how well you are. Because I think eventually we lose ourselves. We lose ourselves in our attempts to heal something. We make that the primary focus of our life. Our health regimes take over. And again, I'm not saying that it's bad to like take a certain amount of time, and that might be 3 months, that might be a year. I don't know how long things take for an individual person. I only know my experiences, and I've had variable timelines for that stuff too. Is that how do we hold these things lightly for as long as we need to, knowing that's not who we are? This is probably not forever, and if it is, we'll work through that grieving process. But what I know personally, and I've seen that professionally for decades, is that when people make their attempts at well-being who they are and all they do, it gets pretty isolating. Some people are just going to withdraw in general because it's just not comfortable for everything to be consciously or unconsciously scrutinized. And I think it just causes damage, to overall, again, this health journey you were on, okay? So we just ultimately get let down by all those efforts, because some of the efforts are going to be fruitful. Some of them aren't going to do any darn good. And we just want to minimize the time that we spend in life on things that don't matter as much as we think they do. Okay. So I think that's all I have for you. I think the main point here is to really be thinking about your values. As I always come back to your values, could we pursue health and all the little pieces and parts of it in a way that we hold it lightly, that there's no promises or guarantees, but we're doing the best we can. And that, even if something does impact the way you do life, it's okay to, meaning like, let's say that, I'm trying to think of something, let's say that you're doing some medical nutrition counseling and therapy kind of stuff with yourself or with a practitioner, and it impacts maybe some places you go in terms of food procurement or restaurants or whatever. That's still not the main point of your life. If you're going to a restaurant and you're not eating the dairy or the gluten or whatever you're doing, you can still do these things, but they just don't take over. And we don't want to judge ourselves, judge other people for what they need to do, but also recognize that, if you're in a space where you're spinning a lot about health and it's spilling over into projection on other people, there's another aspect of your health that's being negatively impacted, and that's something to keep in mind as well. So I hope this is helpful. I do want to say that I know if you're maybe more of a beginner in this journey, it's really easy to read the Intuitive Eating book and apply the same kind of black and white thinking and urgency and quick fixes that we did when we were in diet culture. But it's a whole different paradigm. So it's not to say that you can't do some medical nutrition work with your intuitive eating journey. You totally can, but you have to learn how to pace these things, because it just can't typically be, if you're trying to learn interoceptive awareness and what foods are supportive to your body, and all the feelings are coming up. I know it's hard to hold space for all that alone, so just kind of keep that into consideration. You can do both at the same time, but you may not be able to do as much as you want to with different health changes at the same time, because you got your hands full with like learning the basics of learning how to eat and dismantling weight prejudice and all the stuff that you might have going on inside that comes up. So again, we can only go as fast as the slowest parts can go. So I hope this video was helpful to you. It's definitely a paradigm shift. It's definitely a lot of checking in often of like, okay, so is my motive for changing here this supportive behavior? How do I do this behavior? And I'm in my window of tolerance doing it. I'm not in fight or flight, freeze or please, which is kind of defeating the point. And if so, I need to back up a couple of steps. I'm missing something. There must be some fear inside of me or some barrier that's like, okay, I've seen you do this, but I've seen you do it before. And the next step is you start getting perfectionistic and you stop eating cake. There's might be parts inside of you that get scared about health behaviors, and we have to work through that and with that. There might be parts of us that want to go like all in and do all the things, and it's not maintainable. You know, your life's not really set up for that, and nor do you really want it to be. So there has to be adjustments in the standards as well, maybe, you know. So lots of things for you to think about when you're trying to work through health things. And I guess the last thing I'll say is that, like, a lot of people have a lot of opinions. Some of it's evidence-based, some of it's not. Some of it's, again, spoken. It might be true, but it's spoken in a scary-based way that make us reject it. So it's really important that you listen to those things as well, and honestly honor the way you need to do it. Okay, that actually helps you grow in your recovery with it. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for you all that stayed here this whole longer video. I appreciate you, and I hope this was helpful. Those of you watching the replay, please feel free to email me questions. Of course, I can't answer individual nutrition need questions, you know, but I can give you generalities, maybe some, you know, guide you towards some resources. But if you need more specific help, please reach out, and we can help you kind of work through the barriers that you might be experiencing to, you know, maybe you're doing just fine and you don't need that. But if you're wanting to expedite the process a bit or just don't know where to start, please reach out. All right. Well, thanks so much. Take care, everybody, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.